All right, welcome everyone to this How to Pitch Your Film event. My name is Paul Jun. I am the CEO of Filmocracy, and I am here basically because we have our film market happening this week, and some people have been asking, if you're going to actually get the chance to meet with distributors and talk to them, what is the best way to actually pitch your film? And I think I have pretty good experience in terms of being able to talk about this, considering I was on the other side of the table before I started Filmocracy. So, little background on me. Before I started Filmocracy, I worked at QED International and Covert Media. These are production and sales companies. The types of films that we were making were in the 10 to $50 million budget range. Movies like Fury with Brad Pitt or Dirty Grandpa with Zac Efron and Robert De Niro. These were the types of films that we used to make in like the mid 2010s, where we were able to raise money through pre-sales. And that is basically pre-selling the rights to films before you were actually going to make the film. That business still exists, but has really shifted a lot. It's contracted a lot. And so there's not really much of that going on the smaller side. So if they're going to do pre-sales, usually it's because there is some talent or some big name attached or some big producer behind it. So unfortunately, there's kind of two roads here. Really, it's either you have one of those things and you should, or if you don't, you should do everything you can to get one of those things, and that opens up this whole world, right? Which is the world that I think, frankly, most people become a filmmaker to get into. You want to be a filmmaker so you can make the big movies with the big stars, blah 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 blah. However, there is that other side, right? Where people don't know anyone, you're a relatively new filmmaker, and you're just trying to navigate this whole realm, and you want to meet with with distributors or production companies and pitch your project to them in the hopes that you can start building your career. So I'm going to talk to each of those things separately, but the first thing that I'll talk about is the big thing, right? The big thing is you are trying to get into, I don't know, let's say a wide release distribution deal with focus features showing your film in 1,500 screens across the country. That's kind of what I think most people think of when they have their dreams of what I'm going to be like when I'm a successful filmmaker. That world was much stronger before. And it's kind of been the studios all used to have their own arms. Focus Features is the arm of Universal, or Fox Searchlight was the arm of Fox Studios. Sony Classics is the arm of Sony. And so those independent arms have really contracted a lot. They used to be much more active, making the types of films that you don't really see anymore, like a biopic of Freddie Mercury or a period piece with name the actor, 10 to $50 million budget range. If you're able to get the talent, that path is still open to you. So in this situation, I hate bursting people's bubbles, but there are many times when we receive scripts unsolicited to our office, finely bound, hand delivered, couriered, whatever, and we just don't look at it at all. So I would say for everyone out there, do not blind send anything to production companies because you are just wasting money. Because the fact of the matter is, these production companies most often are getting their content from the agencies. Why? Because the agencies are the ones that are putting a lot of these deals together, and a lot of these deals are coming prepackaged, meaning here's a script and here's an attachment, and we want you to make the money to go make the film. So if you are just blindly sending your script or your short or whatever to people, in most cases, people are not going to look at it at all. Same thing if you go to like a film market like AFM or something. You always have those people prowling the halls, script in hand, poking their heads through, being like, "Oh, can I give you my script?" And nice people will say yes, mean people will say no, but nobody will look at it regardless. Because again, they are there to meet the distributors with the sales agents, are there to meet at the film market, not to meet individual filmmakers. They don't have time for that. So the path here then is if you can get your project with an agent, CIA, WME, whatever, they are the ones that can push your project onto companies like Covert Media or onto companies like QED International that will actually make the attachments for you and then push it on another company to produce it. So that is the path of success if you're trying to go this kind of bigger route. So then the question is, how do I do that? How do I get my script to be picked up by the agency? To be honest, film has become so commercialized that it's a lot of risk mitigation. You should always think of, no matter how artistic of a field this actually is, ultimately the decisions are made a lot of the time by business people. And what do business people do? They look at the risks and the rewards, and most of the time they will go towards the less risky thing because ultimately that's their livelihood. They're not there to make stars. They're there to keep their job. And how do you keep your job? Don't mess up. So how do you not mess up? Well, you don't take risky projects on unknown filmmakers. Or if you're going to take an unknown filmmaker, make sure there are certain signals in place that say that this person is probably going to be less risky than this other person. So that's a lot of what it is. So what I would do if I were each of you is I would look for the agents or managers who represent the people that make the kind of stuff that you make or that you aspire to make. That way you can follow their path and you already know that they are open to that type of relationship. Because the bigger agents, they will not look at you. They don't have time. They've already got very important, bigger celebrity clients to heed to. So you want the younger, the hungrier, the more risk-taking agents to look at your stuff, and you want those agents that have already shown that they're successful by identifying new talent, or B, I don't know, maybe you know them through some relationship and that's your only way in. Whatever it is, finding your way to these people who can push you forward is going to help a lot in this world. So you may even want to spend a majority of your time focused on that. Okay, so now the question is, okay, I know that there are these 5 agents who have represented Chloe Zhao when Chloe Zhao was an unknown, or the Daniels before they did Swiss Army Man. Like, I've identified the agents who represent them. Okay, fine. Now, what do I have to do to prove myself to them? Because those agents, they may be going to some film festivals, they may be going to some film markets or taking scripts from the blacklist, but that's kind of what they're doing. They're looking for signals. Did the film get into Sundance? Did a film get into South by Southwest? Did a film win this script competition? Is it on the blood list? Is it on the blacklist? So unfortunately or fortunately, these brands matter a lot because it's going to come down to when, if that project gets made and then their boss asks them why that project failed, they can say, well, it was the #1 script on the blacklist. So, that's why I wanted to pick it up. Okay, fine. You're not fired. But if it's like, well, I just liked the guy and he was really nice to me and I liked his pitch, so that's why we went with him, that guy's gone. So as many different signals as you can find to support yourself, almost like a resume, is what's going to get you to that next level. So that's social media following. That is winning awards, winning competitions. And unfortunately, it's also knowing people. So another way you can go about it, if you can't somehow get talent attached to your project and you need to, somehow find someone with credibility, is to attach yourself to maybe a producer who has made kind of like a approachable project, a project that maybe could have been yours. And so how do you get attached to that? Well, what I would do, I don't know, here's a good example. I go on Kickstarter and I see these are the projects that are the most successfully funded. Like they're definitely getting made because they hit their goal. Maybe they're raising $200,000 something. And then I see that one of the producers of that film is actually kind of a somebody. So then I offer myself up to that project. I say, hey, saw you guys raising money for this film. This is really great. I love the concept. Can I be an associate producer on your film? What does that mean? Kind of nothing. Associate producer, like that is a real title that people can just give out freely. And so basically what that means is you will offer to help them for free. They will give you an associate producer credit. But the main point is you build that relationship with that producer. So then you can be like, okay, we finished our film. Actually, I have a film too. Can I tell you about it? Because if you're going to cold email these people with your synopsis and your script, they don't have time again. No one has time. There's too many filmmakers to go through. So you need that relationship, and that is the way to get it. Give a little first, and then they'll give back to you. So that is kind of the agent route, the management route, or the producer route. Does anyone have questions about this before I shift over to the more true indie side that a lot of people will actually have to follow because nepotism and stuff? Okay, I see a question in the chat. I mentioned one of those things, either the talent. Yeah, you need to have either talent or you need to have the film partially financed yourself. And what I like to tell people is that this is not like a boom or bust thing. If you think that you're going to find somebody who's going to be like, oh, this project's great. Here's your $5 million budget. Go make it. That makes no sense. Why would they do that? But what you can do is you can incrementally build upon your project. Okay. So let's say you raise $50,000 on a Kickstarter or with friends and family. And then you do a Kickstarter campaign and you say, okay, I have in your Kickstarter campaign, I have $50,000 from friends and family. So then you raise another 100,000 on Kickstarter. Now you have 150,000. Now with your 150,000, you can now message angel investors and you can say, hey, instead of I have a script, give me money, you can say, hey, I have already raised $150,000. I already have this many backers. I already have won this script competition, this film festival, yada, yada, yada. Now that investor comes on and they give you another $150,000. Okay, great. You have $300,000 now. Now, if you email somebody, a production company, you can now email production companies cold and you can say, it's already financed up to here. That is now an interesting conversation. And they can take that as a little bit of proof that you know what you're doing in some way and you have some of the risk mitigated. And now it's worth investigating at least, because everybody's happy when there's already some money in play, because nobody wants to be the first money in because they look the stupidest when they mess up. So if you can come up with 300,000, now I go to, I don't know, the exchange, or I go to Highland and I say, hey, here's my script, plus I have 300,000. I can make this for 300,000 now, but what if we made it $1 million? What if we upped the budget to $1 million and you give it to Highland? Highland goes, whoa, okay, this is great. We've got something here. Highland can then take your script and go to whichever agency they work with. I don't know who they work with, maybe WME. So they now take your script to WME and be like, hey, we think we can do some pre-sales on this film. We've read the script. It's cool. They've got 300K already ready. Who can you get for this project? And then WME will be like, okay, Highland is asking us for something. Let's look through our roster. Who's available? Then they will send Highland a list. These are the A-list actors available. This is how much they would cost. These are the B-list actors that are available. This is how much they would cost. And then Highland will send you an email and they will say, hey, we think we can get Taron Egerton. I don't know, just name the actor. And it's going to cost this much. But we think if we do pre-sales, Taron Egerton is really popular in the UK, really popular in Germany. So we think we can at least raise another $400,000 between those two territories. Great. Go do it. They'll have you sign a sales agency agreement. You will take a haircut on their marketing costs, which I won't go into too much detail, but unfortunately, this is how it works. They will go to the different film markets. They will sell the project. Your film, your script, plus Taron Egerton. Give me $100,000 UK distributor signature. Give me $200,000 German buyer. There's so many. Anyway, so that's how the budget gets made. They give you the money, then that film gets made. And once we have international buyers in place, then they can go to domestic distributor and be like, we've already got distributor signatures doing UK, MVDs doing Germany, whatever it is. So let's do domestic with Universal. Universal's like, okay, we'll give you another $400,000. So that is how that world works. Okay, there's another question. What if your film is fully financed and you're just looking for marketing distribution? When you say fully financed, that can mean a lot of things. But if you're saying it's fully financed, done, and it's $100,000, is A24 going to pick up that movie? Only if it's like incredible. If a film's budget, and this is an unfortunate thing, if a film's budget is not high enough, they will also not take that film. Because kind of like luxury goods, the cost is reflective of the quality in a way. How can I, as an A24 distributor, distribution manager, justify that I acquired this $100,000 film and now spend $5 million marketing it? Not going to happen. Your film's budget will be commensurate with the marketing. It will never be this. And also, don't get this idea that if I can prove how scrappy I am, that I can do a lot with a little. That's a double-edged sword. Because to some people, that's like, wow, look what they did with so little money. That's amazing. But that doesn't prove to anybody that you can do a lot with a lot of money. And that's the key. If you can handle $50,000, anybody can handle $50,000. How do I know that if I give you $5 million, you know what to do? Or $50 million, you know what to do? So how can you prove that? I mean, it should be incremental, right? You do a small $50,000 film and a $100,000 film and maybe a $300,000 music video, and then you build up your skills to make bigger and bigger films. So I would caution anyone. I mean, in the beginning, yes, it's great if you can show that you can do a lot with a little. Fantastic. That's where the world is going. We have to do more with less. But at the same time, that's not proving your capabilities to handle big projects, because that is also the fear. If I give you $5 million and you don't know what to do next, like, why did we all waste this time? Because pre-production is such a huge deal. Like, there's so many people involved. There's so many people's hands in the cookie jar even before you start planning things. Okay. Well, until we get to that point, and feel free to keep trying to get your mics to work. I think it would be really helpful to actually go through a mock pitch, whoever figures it out first. In the meantime, I'll talk about the other side, the super indie side, the side where you probably are not getting an A-list talent in your film, and you're probably not getting an agent to represent you yet. You're too early. Nobody really cares about you, and you're just trying to figure out your way. So what a lot of people will do, let's say you've made your film. No, actually, let's skip even earlier. Let's say you're trying to get money for your film. Nobody is going to give you money as an unknown filmmaker. Maybe your family. If your family will give you money to make your film, then you can still follow the steps that I said before, which is you can make a Kickstarter campaign, show that you have money from friends and family, raise some money that way, and build on up from there. But let's say you don't want to do that. You just want to make a small film with a little bit of money. And yeah, if you're trying to take a script that you wrote and go to a distributor and get them to give you even $50,000, that is not going to happen, because the distributors, the small ones, the smallest ones that might even consider doing this, like, they need something else. And that's the thing you need to understand is, like, there's level of distributors, right? And there's levels of production companies. The ones that are big enough to take that kind of risk are big enough to get bigger things. The ones that are small enough that would actually be in your wheelhouse, they don't have the money to give to you. It's much too risky for them. So they'll usually operate on like straight distribution deals or things like that. So now let's say that you have a project that you've made, a short film. Okay, you just finished your short film and now you don't know what to do with it. There are not that many distribution methods for you to take that short film and monetize it. That's the unfortunate truth. There's like Shorts TV, hit or miss. You could put it on YouTube and try to generate ads. Probably not. You could put it on Film Hub and some random platforms will take it and make a little bit of money, but none of this will be significant for you. What really matters here is, and it's the unfortunate part of all of this, is that short films are just kind of like a business card. They're like, this is what I'm capable of. Look what I did. And so taking that short film, you can go and enter some festivals. And there's a lot of them. Most of them mean nothing. Most of them will do nothing for you. But there are ones, and I highly recommend like asking in different film circles, like, what are the good festivals that will help you, are like actually interested in developing filmmaker careers and things like that, as opposed to just cash grab, collect submission fees, and just, make a small festival that nobody attends. So don't spend the submission money applying to all of these festivals, every single festival you see, because you want to make a wall of laurels. I'm sure you've seen those posters before. And probably you're thinking to yourself, like, that looks ridiculous. Because it is. It doesn't help you to have a wall of laurels. What matters is the laurels that matter, unfortunately. Again, branding. But that doesn't mean it has to be Sundance or South by Southwest or Tribeca. It doesn't. There are certain festivals out there that mean something to certain communities. So if you can find those festivals, like, let's say you have a horror film, then you want to go for the festival that is the best for horror films. Or if you have a documentary, you want to go to the festivals that have the best documentary programming, because the people who actually know will recognize and be like, oh, they were in Rotterdam. That must be a good film. Let's check it out. So much in the same way, the branding of the festival is hugely important. Do not try to get into every single festival. Instead, focus on going to the festivals that matter and building a relationship with them, because probably whatever type of short film you made, that's the type of content that you're interested in. So you want to build that relationship. Don't be afraid to email them. Email the festival director. Tell them your story. Ask if you can help them. Ask how you can help promote yourself in their festival by using your own social media. They will love that. You say like, "Oh, I'm trying to, build my career and I want to help market your festival, so, what can I do?" They'll be like, "That's great." Build that relationship. And then when you make another film in that category, you already have that relationship. You probably don't even need to submit again. You could probably just email them directly and be like, "Hey, I made a new film. Do you want to check it out?" Great. Maybe they gave you a submission code discount or something. Okay. Oh, somebody's voice works. Shrey. Your name is Shrey?
Well, yeah, my artist name is Shrey.
Okay, great. Shrey, do you want to do a mock pitch?
Certainly, yeah.
Okay.
Can I let go? Do I have to push all the time?
Do you have to what? Push all the time?
Yeah, the button. Push to talk button. Can I let go of it, or will it go silent?
If you let go, you go silent, which is what just happened now. So you have to hold it.
Okay, I'm gonna get cramp in my thumb.
Okay, so let's pretend we're having a meeting.
Sure.
Hey Shrey, nice to meet you. Tell me about your project.
Okay, my project I actually showcased in my presentation here. I threw out a Vimeo link to a pilot scene I shot for a future project. It's supposed to be a feature film in the end, about an hour and a half, and it's a period drama set in the late 1890s. It's a chamber play, very few actors, psychological, triangular thriller with a murder twist at the end. That's my pitch.
Okay.
No.
So
Racine her head.
So
I've never done it before, man.
Yeah. No, totally. It's fine. We're all friends here, but I'm going to give you real feedback. So if you and I are in a meeting now and you pitched it to me that way, first of all, I don't really feel like you're that excited about your own project. So that's a negative.
It's 4 in the
Yeah.
It's 4 in the morning. I had to
Shay,
get up like
Shay, don't worry.
yeah.
Don't worry. You're good. But everybody needs to hear this feedback, and we're just using you as an example, okay? I don't want you to feel like you failed or anything, or this is important because the way that you also pitched it is the way that many people pitch their projects, is they are just describing it. And
you know all the reasons.
Sure. Yeah, so number one is we want energy, right? You want to actually somehow pull that person in. You're a filmmaker, so you want to pull them into your story. If we talk about it in the way of like, my project is about pirates who are trying to find treasure in a desert where they're shipwrecked somehow in the Mojave Desert. That's not your synopsis. I'm sure your synopsis is at least a bit longer than that and a bit more of like, taking me on the journey, and you want to take them on that journey because these people are getting pitched all the time and they hear all of the projects and pitched all these different ways. And after a while, they all sound very similar. They all sound like, oh, we are the Twilight for fairies. We are the blah for blah. But if you're going to get them in, you got to draw them in. You got to draw them in with your storytelling. So that's the first thing I would say. So I might actually give them a little bit of my background as well. Who are you? You didn't talk that much about yourself, but it's okay to. It's okay to sell yourself because that's what you're trying to do now. You're trying to sell yourself as a person even more than the film itself. Because if I trust you, Shrey, I don't care as much about what the actual project is because I'm trusting you. I'm trusting that you can get it done. You have the vision, you have the wherewithal to be able to pull this off. So even if it were a script that I gave you, you could do it. And that's also a goal here. Because if you have a meeting with a production company and you knock their socks off with yourself, it's like, man, that guy has great energy. He's got great ideas. He just made me feel good. But that project was not really in our wheelhouse. But we already have a project we're trying to cast a director for. And maybe Shrey could do it. So your project is important, yes, but you yourself are also extremely important. You need to make sure that they feel like they're connected to you and that you are going to be around. Because there's a lot of filmmakers who, they're one-time filmmakers. They might gather enough energy and be able to make one film, and that's really hard. I'm here talking, with all the all the ability to say whatever I want, but I'm not going through what you're going through, which is wearing all the hats, pulling everything together, and making a finished product. I'm not the one doing that, you are. So, as the executive, I'm scared sometimes. Is this person going to be around? Will they finish the film? Will they get too stressed about it and then not make films ever again? But if I know, man, this Stray guy, this guy, this guy is going to keep making movies and he's going to get better and better, we need to at least watch this guy. That is interesting. So don't sell yourself short. Whatever you can say about yourself that adds to the story, the mystique. Why do you have this perspective? Why are you this way? Why are you wearing a beanie right now? Why is your hair long? It's because I was a monk for so many years and I decided that I didn't want to be bald anymore. So that's why I grew my hair out. And my head was always so cold. So I put a beanie on. This is a terrible example, but they need to get to know you. And anything else that you can
no,
do.
It's not pinpointing my personality.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, I would be awesome. I have a meeting on Monday with one of the biggest production companies in Stockholm. On yeah, it's not. It's like this. It's going to be like one-on-one on a chat, whatever. Not in personal, because she's elsewhere in the country. So if that results in me not getting my film done, but I walk out of there with another script that I can direct, I would be, fine.
Absolutely.
No problem at all. I love to work and make films. That's what I do for a living. Not so much for a living, but I make films.
Yeah.
So yeah.
And that, what you just said right there, is also very reassuring to me. Because you just said that's what I do. I make movies. Great. What have you made? Tell me about those things you've made and why you made them. Are you a gun for hire? Also great. Or do you specifically want to make these kinds of films because there's this hunger problem in the world and I try to tap into that with every project I do and you're the hunger guy? You know, if they can give you some sort of shorthand, like what is this guy in like one sentence, so that they can always remember you, compared, because we have so many meetings, so many people who look like you, who have some kind of story. But if I can like kind of have some sort of shorthand for you, that you're the guy who makes these kinds of movies, you know, the crow guy, he has a pet crow and he always throws his crow into one of his scenes. I don't know, whatever it happens to be, whatever your shtick is, that can be really helpful for me to remember you. And I would say, whenever you have your, let's say you meet with this lady and you do your pitch and nothing really comes of it, do not just discard her connection. Keep her apprised of what you're doing. But I would say don't add her to like a MailChimp and just like send out career updates of what you're doing. You need to be personal. For the important people, you want to be personal with them. So when you make another film and then you email her, you're like, hey, you know, we had a conversation of like a year ago. Just wanted to let you know I made another film. Would love for you to give it a view. By the way, I'm the hunger guy. That relationship that you're building.
I can really pick up on what you're saying there, because my last pitch I did was probably 5 months ago, and it really went to hell. I mean, it really sucked, and I never got a yes, but I never also got a no. So that's a good reason for me to go back to those people and say, hey, I'm still here. Can we, if not chat about that, something else?
Absolutely, yeah.
So I will do that.
Yeah.
That tip.
Don't overwhelm people though. Nobody wants the irritating too many emails guy. But if you've got important news to share, they want to hear it. People want to know what's going on out there.
Yeah. I have so many news to share to those two guys. In the last 5 months, I've done 2 more films, and it's like, so yeah, it's like that.
Yeah, don't keep that to yourself. Okay. Yeah. Anybody else got their mic to work? I feel like this was helpful. I don't...
Can you guys hear me?
Oh, yes. Great.
Yay! Okay, I figured it out. Okay, I have a couple questions for you.
Okay.
Can we play a teaser or trailer during our pitch during the film market?
Yes.
We can. Is that like an okay approach?
Yeah, it can be. I would caution against making it too long. It's because you have 4 minutes, so you actually want to talk to them too. So if it can be like a minute long, that would be okay.
Yeah. Okay. Okay, I'll try my pitch for you.
Great.
Okay. Hi, I'm Taylor Defaba. I'm a director and editor. I made one feature film, and I'm currently working on a docuseries. It's in production. It's about independent journalists seeking truth in the midst of a global information war. I'm going to take you back to October of 2020. Pulitzer Prize-winning journalist Glenn Greenwald opens up an email from his editor. It's from The Intercept, the publication that he co-founded. And Glenn is livid. His editor has just emailed him that he refuses to publish his article unless he removes all parts of the article that reflect badly on a certain political candidate. Glenn refuses to change his article. And after a tense email exchange, he sends his letter of resignation. Glenn refuses to be censored. He refuses to change his work to fit an ideology. Glenn is part of a growing wave of journalists breaking ties with established media companies to go independent. But their fight for truth only shifts to a new battleground. Publishing information that undermines the mechanisms of power is a dangerous act. And they face censorship, smear campaigns, and government persecution. Penned Independent is an ensemble cast of American and Russian journalists that take us through the stories they're passionate about and what they're up against. Through their journeys, we get a glimpse into the shortcomings of mainstream media and a look at how governments and corporations target those that expose the truth. That's what I got.
Interesting. Okay, so tell me about the film you made previously.
Yeah, so I made a film a few years ago. It was a documentary about a street photography project, but it wasn't really about photography. It was more about awakening people and connecting them, getting them to get off their phones and connect with the people around them.
And what was the budget on that?
That one was like basically no budget. They're very, very gritty. Just used the gear we had and made it happen. I edited it.
And what happened to that film?
That film, so we did a bunch of screenings in San Francisco and then ended up putting it online. Didn't make any money off of it, but it was really cool getting to do a lot of screenings and hearing a lot of great feedback from it. So it was ammunition to do the next one.
Got it. And it's a documentary?
That one was a documentary. Currently, it's going to be a docuseries, 3 episodes.
3 episodes. Why is it 3 episodes?
Well, we're gonna tackle 3 different themes. So the first episode is journalists leaving mainstream media publications to go independent. The second episode is about the issues that journalists have with government. We're going to follow some journalists that had to flee Russia because of the media crackdown. And the third episode looks at what independent journalists are up against. So censorship, the smear campaigns, all that they battle.
Got it. And what is the budget for each episode?
We're looking at a total project of $500,000 or under.
Okay. Cool. Is there anyone attached to produce?
Yeah, got a producer. I'll be doing some of the editing. There's another editor that's potentially on board, and I have a cinematographer as well and a colorist.
Who's the producer?
Nikita. I cannot say his last name because it's Russian, so I'm not going to try.
Got it. Okay.
Too many letters.
Great. So we'll stop here.
Yeah.
So that was good. I think you gave me a little bit of an intro of yourself. Then you took me on this journey. It did feel a little bit like you were reading something, which is okay. But if you're able to make it sound like your natural voice, then it will sound more passionate, and that would help you. Because the way you're reading it was a little bit like off of a teleprompter-ish, like almost like formal. So if you can make it more casual, like you really are trying to tell this story to me as opposed to read the story to me,